Like that, we're live. Yes, everyone can hear us. I think. You're coming in good. Everything's working. We already have 2 people in the chat. Wow. Tim29 says, "Good to see you casting shadows." And Captain Fandom, I was supposed to say Candom Fandom. Captain Fandom says, "Hi, casting shadows." Cool. 2 people. But in regards to Star Citizen news, just to get right into it, we got the studio reports from November, December, and January, which thankfully other people have condensed into a smaller things like that. There's 2 inside Star Citizens. They started doing Star Citizen updates again 2 weeks ago. Since CIG came back from their holiday break, as have we. Call it that. And they also did the Star Citizen Live stuff. Like last week, it was about. 2 weeks ago, it was about Alpha 318, since that's currently in Wave 2 of the PTU. Subscribers, concierge, and people that just put a shit ton of hours into the game, such as myself. I haven't actually been in the PTU yet, though, so I can't speak on that, other than what we have from patch notes. Really, the only issue I've been seeing so far, the PTU of late, from many people, is server, not server performance, but just like when a server goes down, and then you have, like, oh, here's a station that has like a shit chips everywhere, because they're trying to make persistence better between servers, not just server. So, like, if you die and crash your ship or something like that on the planet surface, you go to a new server. It should be on that new server. So you crashed on a different.
Okay.
Stuff like that, which is cool. That's what we want with the persistent entity. Stuff like that. It's great for hull stripping with the new salvage mechanic. One of the things I heard is people expected it to be very simple, but it's actually pretty fun, which is always a good sign. But it is tier 0 salvaging, so a year from now it's going to be, I assume, like tier 2. Most at that point we'll probably be able to like take weapons off the ships, other stuff, not just hull stripping.
Yeah. It's good to see it being put in, though.
Yeah, it also, because it comes with tier 0 repair in a way, because the hull stripping allows you to repair the hull of your own ship, but like you're not going to be able to, like, oh, you're missing a wing, you're still going to be missing a wing, be able to repair the armor of your ship,
like patch it up almost.
It was interesting because the Inside Star Citizen stuff was 2 weeks ago. They talked about Loreville, because in CitizenCon last year they talked about the Loreville rework. It was going to completely rework how Loreville looks, how it functions, bring it up to the more modern Star Citizen standard, which grants a much better standard. Especially since Loreville being the first city in game, well, not the first major city. Like, because Levski was technically first. Loreville's the first.
It wasn't really like a hub.
Yeah. Levski is pretty much like a mining colony, whereas Loreville is a full-blown city. You can see it from orbit. So, they obviously not great first time around. It's a mess to navigate. Like, I will say I do like the aesthetic as it is right now, like specifically the building architecture. I really like how wonky and undisciplined the building architecture is, and I hope they reuse those assets for other locations later on, maybe like older colonies that have been there for 300 plus years or something like that, because the game takes place in the 30th century, so got a large time frame to mess with. But the new city looks amazing, like very cyberpunk, very in tone and fitting with Loreville and Hurston Dynamics. Show it off here ahead. Like, there it is. It just looks really, really nice. Like more uniformity. There's a lot of. They decided to go, hey, did Lorville remind you of Deus Ex Human Revolution a bit much? Yeah, we're going full into that now. Like a lot of black and gold.
Yeah, a lot of the dark with the lights being the main kind of.
The only thing it's missing is instead of that gold hue to everything, it's going to have that like weird orange hue to everything, to the atmospheric.
Mm-hmm.
That does look really. Like the buildings are more obelisk, city in nature versus that undisciplined architecture. Or
yeah, everything looks a lot more connected to.
like it looks like it was all made by one company, or at least under the umbrella of one company. Makes sense. It's a corporate town, so having that uniformity works, especially since it's all supposed to be in line with the Hurston Dynamics building. That giant building. Can't even say it's center of town. It's kind of on the outskirts, overlooking the entirety of the town. I just hope that they fix the metro rail so that it's not as a pain to navigate. When your system is less intuitive than New York subway, you're doing. I do hope is that they actually implement landing pads on some of the buildings, like they have with Crusader and Babbage for delivery mission, stuff like that. I really like that on Babbage, where like, oh, I have delivery to Babbage, but it's not at the spaceport. I have to just land on some random building and sit in the mailbox there.
Yeah, it makes it feel like you're actually using the city a bit more than just landing at the station.
It gives the city itself a bit more purpose, as opposed to it all being port. Obviously, you know, Chris Roberts said like he wants it to be go inside the buildings later on. We got a taste of that with Siege of Orson August last year, where you were able to enter all these buildings dotted around the platforms. Stuff like that, but on a normal basis, not part of an event. Just like, oh, you're going to the city, you walk towards a building, just enter the building and go to the elevator to the 5th floor to whatever it is you need there.
Yeah, make it feel a lot more alive than having everything closed off and all that.
According to CIG, they also said new pathways, trenches, tunnels, cranes added, which you'll be able to fly under or through. Hopefully, this leads into Cam and I's long. Cam did and I have a long-running thing where we want sewer systems.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You have different
cool.
cave types, right? You got sand caves, rock caves, different types of caves. We want industrial caves. We want sewer systems that you can have missions. You can have maintenance missions there. You can have some like saboteur or kind of like Paris style mission there. Especially with something like Lorville and Hurston Dynamics. They have the United Workers Front, I think. There's a anti corporate union style organization that then became like a terrorist group, stuff like that. Like, so you can have some like really cool urban combat missions that are less traditional. Like, oh, you're running down a sewer doing missions or engaging Hurston Dynamics in like an underground facility at the city, not somewhere off on the planet, but at the city itself. You're entering the facility through the sewers, something like that. This sounds like it's kind of like a building block towards that, but I could just be. They did have more landing pads have been added, especially on rooftops, which will create opportunities for play through missions, as I speculated, so that's good. The footprint of the city is much larger than it currently is. Industrial outskirts have been significantly expanded in size, so the city itself is bigger. And the transit system will remain mostly unchanged, pointing, with only the routes to the outskirts being slightly longer. Alright, well, you know what? If they make the maps easier to read, that's all that matters.
Yeah, easier to navigate.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you can have, like, the system can be as convoluted as you want it, but if it's easy to read how to use it, then it's not an issue.
Yeah, it can be as massive and complex as needed, but if you can't
If you can't
understand
convey
the complexity, then it's
information,
kind of hard
yeah,
to do anything with.
really, it's the fault isn't the system itself. I think it's the maps and ability to convey the navigate it. I do hope they keep the direct line to the business district from the spaceport and stuff like that, because that was nice. They said it's unchanged. That's going to be good. They also talked about the Alpha 319 derelicts. So Alpha 319 is going to be... I can't say when, just because they're kind of... I don't want to say nixing the whole quarterly patches, but they're kind of putting that on hiatus until they get Alpha 319 out. Obviously, Alpha 318 is still in the PTU. Alpha 319, as of right now, is looking to be somewhere earliest mid-2023. And they talked about in-game crash sites, new and old approved upon. They talked about new modular visual elements. Derelicts have 4 ages when being discovered on fire, which is crashed, so no fire and out of power. Like, it's been there, it just crashed maybe like a few days ago, so fire's out and everything like that, but still a relatively new crash. Overgrown, so this is definitely... Crash has been here for a long time, nature has taken hold of it. And harvested, which is already scavenged and good crashed site. Or just empty husks of a ship, maybe have been turned into some kind of settlement. And they talked about the new habitation routes, such as bars, sleeping quarters, garages, and mini camps. And the idea is to create a shantytown feel to outposts and derelicts by infusing lore and environmental storytelling into them. Old school, using visuals to tell a story. Last week's Star Citizen, Inside Star Citizen update, they did a whole thing on Arena Commander. Because Arena Commander has started to get some improvements in the last year. In fact, one of the clips that I used on the arcade cabinets in the background here, far left, from Arena Commander, recorded last year, after they improved the Broken Moon map, and they reworked that to be in line with the modern aesthetics and graphic quality. So they're gonna start putting full-on effort into Arena Commander, because as the game gets more completed, more aspects of the game are done. You got stuff like, Death of a Spaceman, the medical gameplay, and stuff like, you're flying around the verse. You get to your ship from the spaceport, fly off, go to the moon, do the thing, and you want to test something out, but that involves risk of dying or whatever, which means you have to go back to the station, get the ship again, and do it all again. Versus in Arena Commander, you don't have to do that, because it's an arcade style system where you just respawn in your ship and everything like that. You're just ready to go once you spawn in. So essentially allow for more of that style of gameplay, since the PU is going to start becoming more and more less ability to test shenanigans and more you have to play seriously.
Yeah, it gives a lot of ability to test combat compared to the PU, where it's like you're not exactly using certain things over and over again, because you're more likely to play carefully and
Like, even if you're just a guy who just really loves flight sims and all he wants to do today is just do some dogfighting, but he doesn't want to ruin, say he's part of an org, he doesn't want to risk losing his character and his gear, and he's at a good place right now with the rest of his team who aren't logged in, so he just wants to kill some time in Arena Commander. Like, that's what that's for. Like, you want to do some dogfighting, but you don't want to mess with your stuff in the PU.
Yeah, if you're like all set up for something, maybe your org has a mission they're doing, and then you don't want to just go and lose all that prior to it. You can just kind of play.
Or if you want to just do some PvP dogfighting, like, but that's it. You just want to do PvP. You don't want to do any of the other stuff. You don't have to worry about like hydration or anything like that in the PU. Just that's what a Arena Commander is. Just non-stop combat and fun. So yeah, Arena Commander, for those who don't know, it was initially showcased in the Dogfight module in 2013 before being released as Arena Commander in 2014. Arena Commander was always a background game to the PU, and mention the next plan that they have is a 3-step process to revive Arena Commander. Step 1 is replacing all the old maps with new maps, which they started to do last year. I think they've already done it for Dying Star and Broken Moon. I don't think they've done it for any of the racing maps. But yeah, they're replacing the old maps with new maps, features, quality, and UI front end, which they already began doing. Arena Commander will become the overall module for all non-PU activities, such as racing, Star Marine, dogfights, etc. And focus is on quicker customization, easy team selection, and getting into games faster. Essentially all that more arcade or traditional multiplayer game aspects.
Yeah, not as much of a MMO,
Less,
more
essentially
like a quick.
all the Star Citizen aspects without the sim part. Because the PU is the sim. Ironically, though, in universe, Arena Commander is a simulation.
Yeah, it's more of a more combat simulation rather than like open world simulation.
Right.
Essentially, yeah.
But yeah, part of their building better battles aspect was Dying Star map was updated already and will receive more gameplay and visual updates in 3.18. As I said earlier, they also updated the Broken Moon map last year. Greatly reduced overall brightness and increased visibility in Dying Star because the map used to be known as Red Eye Cancer. They also improved performance, which I can confirm. They definitely improved performance. Also reduced performance. The reduced performance was because of the lost AI trapped in the station's hangar. Because Dying Star has a station in the map that you can actually land at some time, but apparently there's AI in the hangar that was spawning and actually not going anywhere. Old Vanderval racecourse will soon be affected by atmosphere and gravity, so the race courses won't just be... Because at the moment, the race courses in Arena Commander are just using the same space mechanics as space. They're not using the atmosphere mechanics, despite the map taking place in atmosphere.
In atmosphere.
Many tasks take location to view and copy them to Arena Commander for use in combat, so essentially they're just going to be updating all of Arena Commander to continue to do so as the PU progresses. They're targeting 12 new racetracks to be released soon, which racing really blew up last year with XGR and the SCR Discord and all that. So, our own data machines prominent in the racing stuff. Arena Commander will begin reporting separate patch notes from the PU because they want to prove, they also want to show you, hey, this is the progress that Arena Commander is making, and this is how serious we're taking it. We're going to be giving it separate patch notes to the PU patch note.
Yeah, rather than prior to, you just had to kind of search through the PU.
They want people to essentially be using Arena Commander again and to take it seriously again. And they also see it as, hey, as we said, you're not going to be able to do some things in the PU due to the risks and the risk-reward gameplay of it. The more you have to think before you act gameplay versus, hey, you just want to, screw around with your ship because you just bought it, you want to see how it flies, and you want to test its limits and all that. That's what Arena Commander's for. Or at least it should be, and that's what they want it to be for. Like, it's a put in universe. The Arena Commander and Star Marine modules are combat simulators that you train yourself and everything. So they want that to be up to that in lore standard.
Yeah, and well, so I'm sure with when you're talking about the addition of atmospheric flight for the racing, it'll be really good for people like you said, like Data, who do the races in universe, like in the PU. They can practice and actually take that into the game, right?
Yeah, plus it'll be interesting if those 12 maps include maps from locations in the PU currently. Like, here's a map based on Lorville. Here's a map based on Cleo, right? One of the Microtech moons. Here's a map based on Crusader. Like, this way, it's not just random maps based on locations that are not in game yet. Like, they exist in the lore, but they're not there yet. So it doesn't help you with training for the PU. Whereas Arena Commander really should be that. I don't want to call it necessarily a tutorial mode, but it is essentially that tutorial mode that you can play whenever you want.
Practice mode, essentially.
Essentially, it's a practice mode. Yeah, it's like having like a gun range type of thing in a FPS game. Now, like, it's a firefight in your Halo game.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That. Yeah, and so hopefully we see some improvements with that, because one of the issues too is because Arena Commander is currently in such a bad state, a lot of thing and stuff happen. Like, a lot of people that just like, oh, I want to do PvP combat. It's like, we'll go into Arena Commander and fight people there. It's like, no, but Arena Commander sucks. It's like, if it's up to the same standard as you, that excuse is no longer valid. Like, people can actually go and ideally, people can actually go and play in the Arena Commander to get their PvP king.
Yeah, and surely there's going to be obviously PvP inside of the PU as well. But when, like you said, when you're talking about risking like ships and gear and all that kind of stuff, it'll be a lot easier.
Yep. We also got the Star Citizen Live. 2 weeks ago, it was about Alpha 3.18, which, the upcoming patch, essentially, it's going to be the biggest. They keep saying it's the biggest patch since 3.0. They said that about 3.15 as well, which introduced the medical system. So, technically not wrong, but I guess this is a bigger achievement than that. Essentially, Jared was talking about the guest, which was Lime game director Todd Pappy and development director I'm not going to pronounce that, Vogel, and chief technology director, that's even harder to pronounce, Benoit Bezjour. Jared began by underscoring the 317.2 was released in the summer, and that the push to 318 has been a long fight, but comes a huge leap forward, not seen since the release of 3.0. Because that's right, Alpha 317.2 came out the summer of last year with Siege of Orison, and we were supposed to get 318 later last year. Obviously, we still haven't gotten it. The development director did a quick intro and backstory about how he came working with Turbulent and where he fits in, which cool. I do recommend watching these Star Citizen lives if you have the time. Usually there's no visual thing, so it's just good to have on the background while you do.
You can just listen to them talk, yeah.
Yeah. Like us. I mean, yeah, we have some visual stuff, but nothing really. They spoke about how much of an achievement 3.0 was, because when 3.0 launched in December of 2017, yeah, that was a huge improvement.
It was a long time ago now.
Yeah. I remember still trying to run that on the really crappy gaming laptop I had at the time, and it actually worked, but I had horrible frame rate and textures would not load in, so I had like this matte gray clay looking texture for all of the planetary surfaces. Interesting on its own. But
Or when textures wouldn't load and you just fall through the map.
but hey, that was when planetary surfaces were first a thing. Like you actually can land on all the locations that you saw in the game.
Yeah.
Because Daymar, Selin, Daymar, and Yella all existed before 3.0, but they were just essentially, here's essentially a bitmap over a sphere. They weren't actual locations you can land on. Then 3.0, they became actual locations you can land on. The rest is history. But yeah, so Benoit was talking about how, sorry, he was asked about and then about how persistent entity streaming, which is coming in now 15, will impact the player in a way, like how will the player notice the impacts of persistent entity? Because for the last year, they've talked about how it will impact the game as a whole, but they've also said how we're not going to see these impacts because it's all going to be back-end tech. He talks about how persistent entity streaming is going to increase the persistence between servers and how server persistence between crashes is improved. When a server crashed in the past, we would get a full reset back to nothing where everything was put back in its default start state. But now that's not going to be the case, at least not as often. We'll be more likely to join a server that has signs of being lived in. Jared said that it was evident around the racetracks where racers could clearly see where all the wreckage and carnage was piling up, warning players to perhaps slow down.
Hello.
Hey, Ken.
Hello.
We're talking about the all about Alpha 18, Alpha 318 Star Citizen Live, where they talked about persistent and how, like, all the debris of ships on a racetrack would pile up if you entered a new server, instead of like entering a new server being, oh, it's a default start server, everything's fresh. Like, no,
Yeah, and everything's cleaned up, and well, and also too, for example, what happens if you go to open up your hangar and guess what? There's 5 wrecks out there. Uh-oh.
Like on the plus side for salvaging, that's going to be great. But
oh yeah,
and they did. I think they did speculate, talk about missions on like cleanup missions, like have to tow the, like with the SRV. Oh, there you go. SRV missions would be towing some of those wrecks away.
To be fair, like I could definitely see stuff where it's like, hey, you have an SRV or other applicable vehicle with a tractor beam. Go ahead and pull this stuff out of there. But just we're a ways off from that. Like we don't even have tractor beams now. Like even though we've got the cargo refactor coming in, that's, as far as I'm aware, that's not including tractor beams just yet. That's coming at some later point. So, just I kind of do wish, especially with how they're treating things, that they would go for a bit more quality of life and gamification in some areas, rather than, hey, in 2 years, 3 years time, this feature is going to be in, so we're going to plan for that right now and treat it as though that's the end game, while having you guys play with the janky fucking mess it is in the interim. It's just kind of like, come on, guys. If you're gonna treat it like an alpha, treat it like an alpha. If you're gonna treat it like a game, treat it like a game. But yeah. Also, do I sound all right? I'm on my laptop right now because my desktop's having issues.
You sound fine. You sound fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they also talked about the Todd was saying how automated cleanup system will improve developer focus, but also leap forward for the final version. But at the moment, it's not in, as far as I'm aware. They also said they'll change the range of approaches when planning a mission because of all the debris and stuff.
It's definitely going to be good for salvage, but right now, salvage is the new hotness. So it's like salvage is going to be the moneymaker for the next couple of patches until just like how mining was the moneymaker. First we had trading, of course, and that was pretty much, it was either trading or missions. So trading was, of course, you could make hundreds of millions on a good couple of runs there. Not just a couple, but then it was, oh, hey, mining came along. And mining was the new hotness. You had Quantanium and all that good stuff. And trading pretty much got ignored after that point and has been in a really bad place since. And it's still in a really bad place, honestly. Now we've got salvage coming in. It's just kind of like, yeah, I'm seeing a bit of a bad trend here. But
Yeah. We'll see. I'll have to see how they balance it.
Yeah, especially
Make
with the
it,
new cargo refactor being, I think trading would get a nice buff, but
yeah,
instead of being a bust.
I do
but,
not understand that, especially with, hey, we've got the cargo refactor in. We want people using it. We want that good data coming in off the servers to see how it's performing and handling when players actually get it. Then incentivize players. Like it always seems to me that besides a few things like with salvage, to where they're like, oh yeah, salvage, like one SU of salvage is going to be apparently on a similar value level for now as one SU of Quantanium to go and incentivize people to go and use the salvage system, which, hey, great. But it seems like with every other system they do, or most other systems they do and put in, it's a punishing aspect to get you to do it. Oh, hey, we want people to go and use the new prison system. Great. Well, instead of going and making it out to be like, well, hey, players will go and have more opportunities to push back against criminals. No. We're just going to go and remove current areas where people can go and remove the crime stat and have it be just security post Korea. People bitched about that. No, okay, we're not just doing that. I haven't heard since what they are planning on actually doing, but it's been completely up in the air. Or things like, oh, hey, we need to go and make ballistic weapons have a purpose. Well, we're going to go and take away all their ammo and give them a bit of a damage buff. Cool. No one uses them. No shit, because either you're a ganker or you're doing a single PvP joust, in which case you're running all ballistics, maybe one laser weapon for a backup, or you're going, well, hey, I'm doing, if I'm doing a remove claim jumpers mission, if I run ballistics, I'm out by the time I'm done with the first target. Well, what's the fucking point? Like there is literally no use. Like, sure, you could say, oh, just give it a little spurt here and a little spurt there. Sure, that's fucking nuts though. No one's sitting there going, yes, in the middle of this dogfight, let me as a single-seater fighter, let me go and calculate the best time to get. No one's sitting here doing napkin math, trying to go and fly around in a dogfight, going, yes, let me go and analyze their shield strength. Like, if you're on a multi-crew ship or something like that, to where your gunners could be like, yes, I'm going to go and wait for the other gunner with the laser weapons to take this guy down, and then I go and unload with my ballistics. Sure, if you had a crew or something, sure, that's absolutely viable. On a single seater, no, it's fucking nuts. And now they're
you
going
should have
and
to
being
manage
like,
it, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to do the calc,
yeah,
like you said. Get out a piece of paper and start doing math.
exactly. Like there needs to be both advantages and disadvantages, and as it is, and especially too with how they're saying they're going to move ballistics to where there is right now. So right now, I believe there, like as in the live server, there is a 50% shield bypass for ballistics. That's going up to 90% with some air quotes armor buffs to offset this. Even so, it's only further cementing the use of ballistic weapons as just being something that a ganker is going to use, or some PvPer to use to swoop in, get their kill, fly off laughing all the way, and even if they die, doesn't matter, I killed him. Whereas anyone that's actually going and dogfighting or facing more than one target doing any kind of missions, you're only going to be running lasers. Maybe a
Yeah, any
single
prolonged
ballistic.
combat.
Yeah, it's utterly non-viable for any kind of engagement besides a single target. I really do not understand. And again, maybe there's something on CIG's end that it all makes sense if because they're looking at it from those other pieces that we don't have and they're not communicating to us. But at least from where I'm sitting, it seems utterly fucking stupid. Like the original point of lasers and ballistics was lasers will take down shields, but they won't really damage the hull. Ballistic weapons will go and really hurt the hull, but they're gonna go and not do as much damage through a shield. So you go and run with a mix of both, using lasers to take down the shields and then ballistics to finish them off once the shields are down. Right now that's not viable at all, and I really don't know what fucking direction they're going in with them, because it just doesn't make any sense from a long-term perspective here. And I'm going to stop.
Yeah. It should work in tandem with each other, not just have one system be obviously and objectively better to use.
Yeah, and with ballistic weapons too, like my thought on balancing was always like the whole, like, obviously yes, the idea of ballistics is you're going to have a set ammo count. Once you run out, you got to go and reload. You know, that's a perfect aspect to balance on, but you need more than that, because as it is, hey, you have 200 rounds, which isn't, you know, barely enough to do anything with on a single target. What's the point? There really isn't. If they were to go and move to a system to where, okay, hey, you have so like, let's say a Gladius, and let's say you've got a, what is it, a size 3 on the nose? So you've got a size 3 ballistic. Cool, great. You've got 1,000 rounds of ammo, or let's say 1,200 rounds of ammo. But you only get 100 rounds in a magazine. You got 12 magazines, or cartridges, whatever you want to call it, but you only get 100 rounds in each. And it's going to take you 10 to 15 seconds for your ship to go and spit out the old one and cycle in a new one. Boom, there you go. That alone, and you can go and, you know, those numbers can of course be adjusted. You can have some ballistics that are going to go and have a shorter reload time, but they're going to have less damage, you know, smaller rounds, you know, of the same size. Like you have, oh, here's a size 3 ballistic Gatling that has X amount of damage because it has larger rounds, but because of those larger rounds, you get less ammo. And here's another size 3 ballistic Gatling that it's going to do less damage for each individual hit, but you get more ammo because it's smaller. Boom, right there, you start having options. And that's really what it's about. Like, it should be a viable option. And like I said, except for ganking people or going on a single target, ballistics are useless.
I just kind of hopped in here, so I didn't get the beginning of the conversation, but I would counter with since you can disable systems on a ship, I would say ballistics are not completely useless against multiple targets unless your ultimate goal is just to destroy everything. But in a combat environment, if you are going against multiple hostiles, if the objective is not just completely obliterate everything, you don't have to kill a ship to make it combat ineffective. You just have to disable it enough that it can't do its job anymore. And I think ballistics would be they fill that role for that kind of damage. You don't have to blow a ship up. You just have to knock out enough thrusters that it can't be combat viable anymore, and then it's basically out of the fight.
A good point, honestly.
But in terms of where we're at right now, I mean, you're going to be doing NPC, PvE combat. Your only objective is to kill all the other ships. So that argument doesn't really hold a lot of water where we're at the moment.
I think the problem is that they're designing the ship, like how weapons on ships work right now, like, you know, with the capacitor system and with very, very limited ammo and ballistics. It's very much geared towards PvP, but most people are doing PvE, and very much a...
Well, they also, like Cam was saying, they have the benefit of knowing all the other stuff that's in the pipeline. They probably have moderately functional use cases that they can test with, and another thing is they might just be looking for some data on the way it works. We are the guinea pigs, so to speak, so
Indeed.
you know, they need to get some information about how this functions, and they're just going to throw it in and see what happens.
Oh, I have no doubt that this is all just... I mean, everything's pretty much temporary.
It would just be nice if they would communicate more of that to us as opposed to leaving us in the dark, guessing as to their motives. Are they just looking for data? Is just looking for, how they want to go, and there's some system or change that we're not aware of because they're not communicating it to us, that this is all going to make sense when we see this other piece. Just we're sitting here wondering because they're giving us puzzle pieces and they ain't fitting together. Maybe there's other pieces that'll make it all make sense. Right now, it's just kind of fucking mess, honestly. But yeah, I don't know.
I generally think that ship combat is a little bit. It's not lethal enough in a sense. Like I don't like seeing these big ships. Yeah, like seeing ships with full. Well, okay, in PU, not PTU, because I haven't seen any of this in the PTU yet. But in the PU, you can see ships that are full ballistics and they're just sitting there hammering each other in the face, and nothing's happening. Because the shield is effectively negating all the damage, and the shields are so freaking strong that they just don't drop.
Now, I don't know about permanent shield stats, but I know at least in the live servers right now, ballistics have a 50% bleed through of damage. So, like, already, again, compared to energy weapons, already ballistics are putting through. Even if you are full shields, you are fresh out of the hangar here, someone starts unloading on you with ballistics, 50% of that damage is already hitting you straight to hull. So I mean, now I do think that they need a lot better ways and mechanics of showing damage. Like right now, like I know they've got like damage models and all this kind of stuff, but just if you are flying a ship and if you're generally in a fight, it doesn't really feel like you can't visually tell both for your ship and your opponent's ship if that part is green and at full health, if that part is slightly damaged, if it's very damaged right before it's about to fall off here, you generally have no idea. Like you'll see like, okay, hey, here's some scoring from my lasers or ballistic weapon. That's about it. Like sometimes you'll get some smoke or something from this stuff, but you really can't tell at a visual glance. Like, hey, is this thing about to fall off in one more shot? Is this thing almost dead? Or is that thing still 99% healthy here? And they really need to go and adjust that, not just, again, for me seeing the opponent, but also me being the pilot. Like, there are so many times, and this has been a constant throughout Star Citizen here, it'll just be flying around, fighting someone, and then it just feels like all of a sudden you go boom. Because you have no idea what your health is, and you can't constantly be going, let me glance at my MFD. Okay, let me glance back to the fight. Back to the MFD. Back to... No, you can't be doing that. You're focused on the fight. That's a whole thing of like, oh, you should be adjusting your power displays in the middle of the fight. No! No one is fighting. Like, on a multi-crew ship, sure. Absolutely understand that stuff. Yes, viable multi-crew gameplay. For a single-seater dogfighter? No! Get out of here with this bullshit. But that's one thing they really need to work on, and I agree, because it makes it look like you got two ships hammering away at each other. One of them could be full red in another 2 shots and he's dead, but you're not going to know that by looking at him. And that's a big issue because, you know, hey, if I'm a pirate or I'm a bounty hunter or anything where I'm like, I don't want to kill this person, but I want to disable them.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what their health is at. You know, and sure, you know, and okay, if I've got the upper hand, I've got them, you know, I'm using disruptor weapons and their power is completely out. Sure, now I can take the time to lazily glance over at my MFD and see, oh, it looks like the cockpit is all red, but the wings are still green. Let me hammer at the wings a bit here, you know, sure. But if you're in the middle of a fight here, you're actually duking it out with someone, it is not viable, especially with some of these MFD placements, which are absolutely atrocious based on how the default camera is set up. I can't be going and sitting here in the middle of combat let go of all my controls, hold Z, move my mouse down so that I can actually see these MFDs. Okay, now I know where they're at this second. Now that I've taken a full second out of combat, let me go and get back to controlling my ship and hope I haven't just fucked myself by taking a second to fly in a straight path here while my opponent's trying their best to kill me. Sometimes it really feels like they're not playing the game we are. I should really stop ranting and griping here. I'm not trying to set a trend here. I'm really not.
Too late.
No, but what you're saying makes sense. You need to be able to make quick, informed decisions without having to take yourself out of the combat or
Yep.
really take as much time as it does currently.
And I
Or
mean, I
attention,
think
really.
they have said they plan to put at least some of the MFDs onto the HUD, like your helmet HUD, so that way it's you always have them. They're not, because that's been part of the huge struggle with some of this stuff. Is like, sure, if I'm lazily flying about doing prospecting run in a mining ship, sure, I can take all the time I want to lazily look over my displays. But if I'm dogfighting here, I can't have half my MFDs being cut off from my field of view because of where the camera is. But yeah, what else we got?
Alpha 318 stuff, such as assistant stuff they were talking about earlier. Assistants we should be able to preposition a ship, preposition a support buggy, supplies, and because all this will not clean up, have the opportunity to be creative and play what we want. Some of the devs were talking about that the persistent entity streaming would allow you to essentially it allows for the servers to be less like they are in the PU right now and more like Rex will persist, stuff like that will persist, and it'll require cleanup stuff that's not in yet, as far as I'm aware.
Now, when you say pre-positioned vehicles, because like right now, how it is, if you try to spawn more than 3 vehicles, the first one you spawn disappears, and second, when you log out, all that stuff disappears. If you bed log, all the stuff disappears. You log back in, the stuff you had on you hopefully will come back with you. As far as now, I'm not tracking too much changing there besides the fact that the vehicle limit, as far as I'm aware, is gone, or at least greatly increased to where you could stuff a carrack full of bikes and buggies and stuff.
So I haven't fully tested the limit, but I've heard that it's up to 6 vehicles you can have out. One person can have up to 6 now instead of 3.
That's pretty cool. Definitely will look
Nice.
forward to having a fully manned and vehicled up carrack if it can, not die to bugs all the time. But
sorry, I didn't mean to derail your point.
No. It's good to know. But is anything else in terms of that changing? Like, is it stuff like if I don't bed log and I just go and log out of the game and I log back in, is it still going to put me at the last place I was? Is it going to put me at the last station?
This is a topic that I would like to talk about because I don't think CIG has come out and said it clearly yet, but a lot of people are saying, and I kind of feel like this is probably accurate, is that bed logging is the only way to save your position in the universe. The way it works in PTU right now is if you log out, then it just puts you back like it normally does in the PU. So you don't come back in where you logged out. You come back into the last landing area that you were at, and it'll spawn you in the hab. And I kind of feel like that is the direction they're going. I hope it's not, but otherwise, what is the point of having a bed in your ship? Long term, I would prefer that wherever you're at, when you quit the game, that's where you come back, whether you're in a good spot or a bad spot.
Whether you're in your bed or not.
That's the way I want it to be. Yeah. I don't want it to be like you leave the game and then
you just magically pop into the station 2 systems over because that was the last one you were at.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now to clarify though, so because I might have misheard this. So what you're saying is that the way they are moving toward is that bed logging will effectively be, or at least bed logging as we know it now, as a feature will be useless because wherever you log out will be where you pop back in when you log in the next time. That's what you're saying, correct?
No, what I'm saying is that I think that for the time being, the current system in the PU is the way it's going to go. So the only way you can save your position is to be in a ship logging out in a bed. Otherwise, your ship will well, I don't know how your ship functions. I haven't done a lot of testing. I think if you have multiple ships out, then the ships that you leave are going to stay in that shard. They don't just instantly despawn with you. I think the ship that you are currently in, if you quit, might despawn, but I'm not 100% on that. They might just get left wherever you leave them until someone finds them, or they get picked up by the server cleanup. But I really hope that we can move to the point where you have an option to log out, and if you don't have a bed, then it'll just tell you, hey, you're not a good spot. You might not be alive or something. Maybe there's some detrimental effects if you don't log out in a bed. But I still 100% want the ability to, even if you're on foot, to quit the game and then come back in later exactly where you left off and not have to start over from some station wherever it was that you landed at last.
To me, it feels like, and again, this is just my take on it. It feels like they've been moving gradually toward a state where bed logging, as we know it, will no longer be a thing, and just where you log out, your person, your ship, your vehicles, your stuff is all going to be where it was when you logged out. That might persist a bit after, so it's like you log out and your stuff doesn't immediately disappear, preventing you from combat logging kind of thing. But otherwise, and again, that's just how it seems like they're moving to me. Because with the whole thing of persistent entity streaming, of them saving all this stuff, what's the point when you go and say, "Hey, you were going and exploring this great area here in your buggy, and you're going to go and log out? Great. Well, you magically teleported, 2 systems over to that last station that you were at that you took off from. Ooh, how'd it happen? Who the fuck knows? Hey, that was only 20 minutes ago. You couldn't have possibly moved that far in that time. I don't care." It's unrealistic for the world they're building.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes, and the big issue, and I'm fine with them going and moving toward that aspect. If that is what they're doing, I'm fine with them moving toward that. Hey, where you log out is where you log out. If you need a ride somewhere, you got to go get a ride. Whether that's from an NPC, a player, a friend, whatever, you're going to have to go and arrange that. If you need out of that situation, if you die, you die. And then you go recover your stuff. Like at that point, that's a lot more realistic and more in line with everything else. But the huge issue with that is, of course, what about bed logging and the whole emphasis on certain ships having a bed and this being a advantage over non-bed having ships like a fighter, other stuff there. What then do they do to go and keep that, that mechanic of some way in place so that they don't go and end up just eating their own foot there and going, oh, well, it turns out beds are actually useless. Who could have guessed?
Yeah,
like, no,
and that's why I'm not sure what they're gonna do, because if you could just quit the game wherever you're at, then what is the point of ships? Like the selling point of a lot of ships was that, hey, it's got a bed, it's got living quarters. What's the point of having that if you don't need it to log out?
No, absolutely, and that's the issue. It's like, now you could go and say, like, oh, hey, if you go and bed log, and you're, because also too, they'd have to have stuff to prevent people from going and metagaming, that kind of bullshit. Just like, oh, well, hey, you can't just log out, log back in, and you're instantly back at a station to go and get out of that bad situation you're in. That's not how things should be done. Likewise, I'm thinking, well, what if you go and have it to where if you log out on a bed and it's been X amount of time since your last login, so you've been logged out for an hour, let's say, you log back in, well, hey, guess what? Your character now gets some buffs. Your food and water usage is halved. So you have more endurance, we'll say, because you got a good night's sleep there. Other stuff like that. Obviously, it would have to be more than just something like that to go and not kind of betray how they had kind of marketed and done this stuff earlier. Because for them to just go and be like, oh, yeah, beds are just useless now. Be like, hey, well, wait a minute. You've been gearing ships up for this and making this a marketing point at a huge level. You can't just go and wipe that all away and go, oopsie. Like, no, you can't do that. But you also can't go and make it ridiculous to the point where, if you make it to where, oh, well, I've got double health, double, food and water level, it can't be anything that's going to make people OP while still maintaining that. I don't want to use the word promise, but it's kind of the best thing I can think of at this point.
Well,
So they have to figure out some mechanic to make beds useful in some way that isn't going to go and cause people to be OP and completely ridiculous, but also not go and betray the people who got, who went and got that Avenger Titan specifically because it has a bed on there over a Mustang Alpha or an Aurora. Aurora already has a bed, but over a Mustang Alpha. Going, well, it has a bed. Of course I want that. So, yeah.
There's.
But okay.
I was gonna say, I think there is a way where you can have both, because I do want that. You just, as Data say, you on foot on one of the grassy plains of Microtech, you just log out, you're back there when you log back in. That's how it should be. Maybe it's nighttime when you log back in, because whatever, you log back in, planet rotates, whatever. But you're. My point being is, you are where you left off, regardless of whether you're a bed or not.
So much more,
but the bed should offer something that makes you want to use it. And I think there is something, we're just either missing it or we just haven't thought of it. But there's definitely a way for them to do that.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely a way for them to have both.
No, I agree. It's just I don't know what, but part of it also is too. We're working with a few pieces of the puzzle, whereas they not only have more pieces of the puzzle right now, they have some idea of what it's supposed to look like afterwards, whereas we do not. So
yeah,
I definitely think it's something they can do, but just I think overall, having it to where when I just go and quit out of the game, I'm going to pop back in as close as possible to where I was with my stuff where it was when I left is much, much more in line with the idea and the dream of Star Citizen. And that, hey, look, if you were going and exploring, you got lost in a cave, you log back in, you're still lost in the cave. You're going to have to go and find your way out or have someone come and come down and rescue you or something like that to help you out there. And honestly,
or you have to figure it out yourself. But look, they always talk about persistence, right? This is that. This is persistence to its extreme. That's what we want. That's what would make this game so much more improved over others. The level of persistence so extreme to the point where anything you do, log out, you're not gonna be like, oh, I'm back at the hub or I'm back at whatever the station. No, you're where you left off. It's not like a fail-safe issue. You're kind of either you have to figure it out yourself or you have to ask for help.
Yep.
Yeah,
because it plays into the further
hand in hand with. I'm sorry to interrupt. Just real quick, it goes hand in hand with everything they say about decision making.
Right.
If you make a poor decision, you get lost in the cave. You don't have the option to just quit, and now you're back at the station, safe and sound.
Right.
You're still in the cave. You have to decide what you want to do.
And that's what plays into the whole think before you act gameplay.
There should be an option though to be able to essentially go and they need to maintain the suicide option to be like, okay, I've been wandering around this cave for 5 hours now. I'm done. Like they do need to maintain that option.
Yeah, the option to quit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Or like you end up falling into Orason's gravity well, and you're past the point where any ship can get you. It's like, okay, look, I'm not going to fall here for another 5 hours just to prove a point. Get me out of here.
Right. And also keep in mind, by that point, hopefully we have AI able to do the same thing players can, like, rescue beacons and stuff,
so.
transport. Like, once AI can do those things, the amount of, like, oh no, I'm trapped, and then you have to, like, restart the game type of stuff, I feel it's going to be mitigated because now AI can help you out. Granted, AI might be super glitchy at first, so it could be wrong.
I mean, when like,
but
I'm just imagining though, you're in a cave. You are lost in the cave. You don't know your way out. Now imagine having an AI and telling the AI the AI has landed. They are standing outside of the cave. Find the player, bring them out of the cave. Bear in mind the player's running around still like an idiot. Like just that level. Oh God. Like, honestly, that's going to be ridiculous. I don't know if they'll ever actually get to that
Well,
point.
I think
but
that's where the end game mission system has a chance to shine, because the player that's lost can say, "Hey, I'm lost. Someone come save me, and I'll pay you money."
No, absolutely. And
right,
I mean,
but I was just saying, on top of that, NPCs can enter it too, not just players.
Well, yeah, but I'm just imagining like them trying to. I mean, obviously, I know that a lot of the NPC performance that we've seen has been bogged down by the overloaded servers.
Yeah.
So it's not really representative of what they've actually done. But even still, with some of this stuff, like I'm just imagining, even assuming that it's 10 times better than what we're seeing right now, just having an NPC with the mission of, you are standing, like not even flying around or doing anything there, but just NPC is on foot. They are at the entrance of the cave. NPC, run into cave, find player, escort player out of cave. Just like, I mean, it's doable. Just yeah, because also too, bear in mind the NPCs are supposed to avoid the appearance of cheating, right? Because the whole point, like, it's easy to make an NPC that can go and headshot you. It's a lot harder to make an NPC that 1 time out of 20 will headshot you, 10 times out of 20 is going to get some body shots, 5 times out of 20 is going to miss, and 4 times out of 20 is going to wing you, kind of stuff. So just if you have the NPC trying to find you, how are they going to find you in the first place? So the NPC goes in and goes, because like they do have the detection mechanics and behaviors they were showing for like that they showed off specifically when you had a player running around. I think it was station they had for Squadron 42, and they were showing the player like running around there, and the guards kind of going like, "Oh, I think I saw something," and they're kind of looking around. You could repurpose something like that to have an NPC going, hello, kind of stuff, and seeing if they can detect footfalls or anything else using that same searching mechanic, but in this case, their goal being not to kill.
I mean, yeah, it's a retool of the same search function. It's just instead of them searching to kill you, it's searching to help you.
Yes, and then they just go and tether the NPC to the player. Don't go more than X distance from them. If player has an altitude change, check if they fell off a cliff. Yeah, but just I'm trying to imagine CIG doing this with what we currently have for NPCs, and just seems rough. Like it'd be great. Honestly, it would be fucking amazing, like nothing else.
Until the AI starts rubber banding back and forth, and then you're just like, oh, great.
Oh yeah. But just if it works, just imagine actually having an NPC that flies over, lands their ship because you put out a distress beacon, runs into the cave, and you hear them going like, "Hello, hello," and you use your proximity chat. I'm over here. oh, I think I heard him this way, and they start coming vaguely in your direction. They find you down in a pit because you couldn't jump over the stupid rock or something, reach a hand down, pull you up, and then escort you out. Like, the pieces are there. Like, right now, most of the pieces of that stuff are there. I just don't know that they're going to assemble too well.
No, but the idea, even just having the AI like respond to your proximity chat and using voice lines, like they can do that easily just by AI. Okay, you said
that's been done in games for a while.
Exactly, like you said X, so it'll respond with some with X, and they can make it where it's like each of the AI
I'm more
feel
thinking
different.
not even them recognizing language, but just recognizing there was audio input. Go toward audio input.
Right.
Yeah, not that they can recognize you saying hello versus fuck off. Yeah.
Like the idea of and you can even have the voice, like the AI voice, being different. Like okay, we recorded like 50 different people saying the same line and that like that sort of stuff, like with the wild lines and everything like that, for all the different NPCs. This way, at least you're not encountering the same guy every time you get rescued. Also, that would be fun.
It would, like I said, it would be absolutely amazing. That right there, if they ever get to that point, and
I think they
somewhat dubious that they will. I mean, give them 15 more years, yeah, they'll probably be at a point like that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think they will.
Now,
it's just not soon at all, ever.
Yeah, no. But it would really go and showcase that you could go to some random cave in the middle of nowhere and be able to have an NPC, who is in orbit or even on another planet, see your beacon for help going, literally, there might be an option, I'm stuck. Please help me get back to my ship, being like an option you could set for the beacon. They fly over, land their ship, get out, traverse the cave, find you in the cave, and again, find you realistically, because it's super easy for them to go and be like, oh, I know where the player is, and just make a beeline for you. It's a lot harder to have the NPC go, okay, I sort of vaguely have an idea of where the player is. Because, I mean, obviously, too, you don't want it to be like, well, hey, if your player is unconscious and can't call out, you fell down a crevasse or something, and your medical beacon went out, and the NPC accepted the medical beacon. So obviously you can't say anything because, for all intents and purposes, you're unconscious, right? So the NPC has to have a vague sense of where you are and keep heading in that direction. So that way, even if you don't do anything, they're going to be able to find you. Like that would need to be there. But again, it's real easy to make an assessment that's going to go and headshot you. It's a lot harder to make an assessment that's going to miss you 19 times out of 20 and then wing you with a headshot on the 20th time. So, but
from my take is
to do it.
My take is you probably won't see that from NPCs. I generally see them as more filler. So like they'll be there to make the universe look alive. They can maybe they'll handle some assumption tasks like trading and mining and ships and things. But I think most mission-oriented things or calling for help is going to be player-to-player interaction, because that's from CIG standpoint, and from mine personally, I think it's more interesting. And technically, getting the AI to react correctly, I think, is more difficult than you're portraying. I think
absolutely.
Like the systems to make it function are
absolutely going to be nuts if they want to try anything like that.
Yeah.
Because also too, the problem is it's easy to go and make a situation to where you have your little test room and the NPC is in there, and for example, someone goes and pulls out a gun, and you're in a city. It's easy to go and have the NPC go, I'm in a city. I see someone holding a gun that's not part of the security faction. Someone has a gun. They start running away and acting all panicked. Sure, easy stuff. Okay, now we do all that, except now you put the NPC on a ship. Oh, that's different now. Versus, okay, Now you've got the same thing, except now the NPC is also in the middle of providing first aid to a player from some random thing. Now, how does he, it's like you go and throw a second situation or tertiary situation at this. Now it gets complicated. But yeah, we'll see. Not like CAG ever listens to our podcast, right?
It is on the community hub though, so not like
Meanwhile, like 2 days later, Chris Roberts. Yes.
10 more years.
Yeah. Just for that, you little fuckers. 15 more years.
try 25.
Hey, these are some great ideas. We're only going to push development back another 20 years to see them.
On the topic of AI, though, the January monthly report, they implemented grenade throwing for AI and implementation of attack and defense areas. Yeah, right.
Okay, question. If the NPC throws a grenade, is it going to rubber band back to their hands like half the time like it does for us? Fair's fair.
Probably not, because they're server controlled.
God damn it. See, now that would be utterly hilarious, though. You have some NPC that's, they're set as like an idiot type or a rookie in terms of like combat experience. They pull out a grenade, they throw the pin, as in all the memes, sitting there like, Bob, throw the grenade.
Except unlike in training situations, you don't have a little hole to jump into because you fucked up.
Yeah. Exactly. That would be such a great thing to see. Like, honestly, it should almost never happen. It should be a very rare thing, but it'd be utterly hilarious to have an NPC sitting there holding the grenade and just kind of go, duh?
Okay, now what do I do with it? Boom.
What do I do? What do I do? Throw it, you idiot! Throw it! Okay, boom.
It could be like the I think in Half-Life Alyx it was, you can like one of the Combine soldiers in Half-Life Alyx have a gas tank on their back, and if you shoot it, it'll start like flaming up, and you hear them like freak out before they explode. Like, I'm just imagining that. It's like, oh, hopefully without the heart monitor flatlining though. Because
I haven't tested any of the UGF missions myself, but there was a guy in chat earlier today saying that the AI are tough now because the servers are more performant. The FPS is generally higher.
I want the AI to be difficult. I just don't like it when the AI are like, well, we shot you, but you didn't know that because we only rubber banded to that position. Like, well, a lot happened in Siege of Orison. This happened a lot, where like you'd get shot up because, I was going through some of the old footage that we had, and one of the recordings when we were the first night of Siege of Orison, we were doing it. I was lighting up a guy at like half a mag of FS9, and it wasn't registering the hits, but then he just lit me up. And then finally it took Cam to take him down and they revive me. But like stuff like that, or the AI are literally teleporting across the map, and you're shooting them, but then you get down. It's what? And it turns out when you look in third person after you're downed, he's behind you, having shot.
Yeah. Or you're shooting at an enemy in a bunker, and all of a sudden a guard teleports right in front of your gun. Yeah. You're just like, no! Yep. All the other guards, kill him! Ignore the others, kill him! Like, just come on.
Yeah. AI tech progressed with enabling NPCs to use transit systems and move between platforms. They added further support for locomotion, harsh and soft stops. Further progress with Subsumption Apollo tool and coordinator was completed for the, along with completed feature allowing NPCs to receive audio and visual threats and react to hostile vehicles. So probably like shooting your gun at the NPC or near the NPC is going to be put it on alert and go like, whoa,
like,
don't do that.
Hey, what are you doing, buddy? Come on. I got a wife and kids. I'm hoping though with the fact that NPCs can recognize vehicles, that'll mean at some point we'll get a mission actually using or utilizing ground vehicles, because just right now they're pretty much useless.
Yep.
But it makes sense that they haven't really put anything out like that if the NPCs can't go and recognize, hey, that's a Nova tank. I should probably not stand in front of it.
It'd be like that. No, it could be the guy from Austin Powers. Stop!
Yeah.
Run over by a tank. The character art team worked on the Frontier environmental wear costumes. So they began working on them. Character concept progression for the Rough and Ready gang, Fauna and Dusters faction.
How rough and ready are they?
They're very rough and ready.
Let's go to our embedded reporter to find out more.
Ship art team announced a unannounced small ship in progress and started exploring ideas for a variant. The Argo SRV progressed final art. Crusader Spirit development continued past white box review. A1 variant moving to gray box. Unannounced ground vehicle passed gray box sanity review. In production vehicle completed white box. Another unannounced ship began gray box. All new vehicle entered.
I'm looking forward to the SRV and tractor beams.
Yup.
Or ship attached tractor beams.
And everyone's too.
Yeah, hopefully that means that the Caterpillar
larger ones.
and other ships will have their tractor beams. Community update was Red Festival 2953 and Moon's Fortune Contest support. Sections of the Club event feature coming next week. New bar citizen. The engine team worked on physics team specifically worked on occupied with the 318 bug fixing support. Triangle vertex and normal transform triangle meshes were optimized using SSE for 30% cost saving. Rope physicalization method can now be chosen per rope entity. Damn ropes.
Heavy breathing intensifies. Ah!
Look, Cam, ropes. We can use them to get across. Gen 12 renderer received various optimizations, including improvements transient list reporting, reductions of calls to OS for multi-threading, and works for particle refaction. Remote shader compiler was improved. Support for huge pages was rolled out. Linux DGS, digital game servers, executable size was reduced by using gold linker and now supported for debugging easier. And also development tools now support version 2 of the A4 files. It's the engine team. They're going to be working on a lot of back-end tech.
Hooray.
Arena Commander features. Polish for Arena Commander front end and racing tracks. New Horizons way track above a new planet, Green 3 of Ellis. Work continued on the classic race refactor and new optimization /addition such as splits, qualifying, and analytic data made alongside improvements for time accuracy. Arena Commander, as we talked about earlier before Camp Data showed up, they're doing a whole work of it to make it more in line with the P, make it more functional.
Hooray! Wait, does that mean that if I throw a grenade in a Arena Commander, it's going to stick in my hand?
Maybe.
Only if you want it to.
No, I believe.
I'm holding the spoon, nothing can happen. Video game logic says otherwise. The character and weapons feature team worked on player skills features. High fitness level may have more stamina or consume at a slower rate. Improving animation responsiveness with environmental objects like doors and buttons. Gameplay features is supporting escape mechanics for ship securing tractor beams. Makes sense because the SRVs were getting into final art. Clear direction for ship engineering gameplay, ongoing mining balance, developing mission, utilizing soft death and cargo. Which tells me that trading is not going to get any updates, unfortunately. At least not this month. The EU locations team worked on Pyro's Ruin Station and further developed the colonial outposts in the underground facility. Essentially just continuing the work they've already started last year. Narrative team scaled back on website fictional content to focus on in-game content. Provided updates on new locations that will start appearing in the port bounty hunting. And developing stories for the first batch of investigation missions. The new investigation mission we talked about at CitizenCon. Ship tech art and animation teams worked on the whole sea animations, state setup for the expanded cargo mode, and enabled shader damage scraping on various ship attachments. Which maybe hopefully leads to attachments and other props getting environmental effects, like, say, guns getting all the snow-covered effects that your character model will get. But, again, I just much into that. Lastly, the UI team progressed with Squadron 42 star map, which will eventually make its way to the PU, which good. We need a different, better star map. Focuses on adding grids and coordinates, improving planet and marker sizes and polish. Yeah. January monthly report. They worked on a lot.
I want more.
I mean, there's also the Squadron report from December. They talked about, for instance, the vehicle feature team worked on the MFD and HUD and vehicle UI, and work on control surfaces. They also worked on a recall feature available to various military ships. Complete a full rework of quantum travel.
Now, I remember seeing on the Moby Glass that they showed off more than a couple months ago,
Back at CitizenCon?
during one of the little Squadron 42 teasers they did, and it had a recall ship option on there, but as far as I'm aware, we still haven't gotten any description or word of what that means.
No, but we do know that it is a thing. Working on it for various military ships. This is for squadrons. So.
I'm just wondering if that means, like, hey, I parked at one side of the enemy compound, shot my way through to the other side. If I hit recall ship, does my ship autonomously take off
and land right where I
am?
am, or
yeah, a la No Man's Sky kind of thing, or
possible?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of that. It sounds kind of dumb, but if they do implement it, I hope it is the ship actually having to fly to you instead of just teleporting nearby.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, like you pressed a recall right at the door, and then you open the door and you see it landing.
Yeah, no.
Versus it's already there.
Like, if
like
your buddy is in the ship, he should be like, "Whoa, it's moving! Whoa, oh yeah, I just hit the recall. Okay," and then the ship actually goes up to a certain height, turns, flies forward to right overhead, and then comes down and lands in front of you.
Yeah, it's nothing special or anything. It's literally just like it hovers up, turns to where you are, goes over, and lands to where you are.
And it should be very. I don't want to say robotic, but it should be. It shouldn't move like it does when a player is actually flying. It should be
very static movements. I think.
Yeah.
It goes, it rotates, it goes, and then lands.
Like when it turns, it stops everything. Turns. Okay, it stops turning. Thrusters are now being applied for. It's only really doing one thing at a time. Very much stupid, not AI, because the whole AI scare fear, whatever. But very, very much a stupid linear progression of do this now, do this now, do this kind of thing.
Well, it's simple. Like it should be simple A for the sake of the game. Stuff like that, but also like in universe, because until the most recent Imperator was elected, AI is a no-no.
If they were to make that a blade option, for ships, or like, you know, maybe it's like a multi-blades where you have to take up 2 or 3 blade slots to have this recall function there. That would be pretty darn cool.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I'd be 100% okay with that.
Because then it's like, well, you could go, you know, so let's say, for example, like your Carrack. Well, you could go and automate your unmanned turrets there, or your manned turrets with the blades, or you could go and give it this recall functionality, or you could yada yada, you know, give it better thruster timing.
It gives you options
more
to have your
speed.
ship work the way you want it, and it's not like,
Yeah.
well, it does everything. Like, no, it's you choose it. Do you want it to do this, or do you want it to do that? And you can always swap out the blades, so you can change it depending.
Yep, absolutely. Although I should note, like in my opinion, for blades, especially if they're giving functionality like that, I think it'd be cool to have it to where, like, so for example, like, oh hey, if you have blades that are controlling your turret system, you might need to go and one power off the ship computer and back on to have the new blade. You know, so you know, just like right now, if you go and upgrade parts in your computer, you have to power it off and power it back up for them to go and work.
Right.
So you'd have to do that, and maybe you'd have to power off whatever adjoining system it is. So if those blades are affecting your turrets, you have to turn off your weapon systems and power them back up. And now it'll take effect. If they affect you, okay, you have to turn off your thrusters and turn them back on. You know, if it's affecting your radar, you have to turn your radar off and back, you know, whatever system it's affecting and the computer, you have to power those both off and back on for them to take effect. So that way you aren't just, you know, you don't have someone standing in front of the computer hot swapping this stuff out like a madman. Like, no, you know, this isn't something that you just do on the fly and it just works. You actually have to go and kind of plan this out a bit. You know, sure, you could be like, hey, I know I'm going to want to recall this ship. Okay, I'm walking out of it. Let me go and swap in that blade here, get it ready to go, power off, power back on, whatever I need to. Okay, now I'm ready to go do my exploration. Yeah, and that's how you prep that. Sure, absolutely. But not something that you would do in the middle of combat.
No, it'd be something like, you know, think like your Millennium Falcon has to land in order so they can repair the hyperdrive type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, like, okay, you got your Carrack, you know, you want to swap out the blades, you're landed on Daymar, while you have your crew doing some kind of exploratory mission, you and the engineer are...
Perfect time to fuck with it.
Yeah.
Unless you're affecting the quantum drive. But besides that.
But, like, you know, you and your engineer are still on board, like, swapping out the blades and stuff. So, like, the ship's parked and everything, they're off doing the mission, you're doing the ship stuff. It's like, yeah, that would be fun gameplay.
I think that would go and fill a nice little niche to go and have that idea that blades aren't just something you, because that was kind of one of my worries, was that blades would be something you would just, oh, you find whatever meta you want, you throw them in, and you never ever touch them again. Like, no, you should have a good little stockpile, you know, a little box of them or something, and you go and you're like, okay, hey, for this mission, I'm going to want to go and put in these upgrades or these tweaks or changes here. You know, for example, hey, maybe I want an automatic fire suppression thing in there, so I don't have to have Billy Joe running around the hallways with a fire extinguisher if, you know, we take damage here.
Right.
Something like that.
Also, it plays more into the whole idea, because right now, yeah, ships are kind of disposable due to the alpha testing nature of the game, but at the end of the day, they want ships where, like, you don't want your ship to get damaged, let alone blow up. Like, this is something you're going to be living in and using and all that stuff, so.
Well, yeah, we'll see. But hopefully they'll do something along those lines. But that would be really cool if that was a thing that you could go and add in. Just because in so many cases, like especially like a Pisces, great. Being able to go and call my Pisces over to me, you know, when I'm at the other end of the thing, or, you know, I just went through a big old place that I don't have to trek a mile back to get back to it. Like, yes, please.
Especially in a mission like something in Squadron 42, just based on what we saw in the vertical slice, where, like, okay, you land here. You're progressing through this entire complex on foot. You know, running and gunning, or, you know, taking cover, gunning, however you're going to play it. You know, and you end up here, and there's an exit right there. But your ship is all the way, you know, say a few hundred meters back, or even a kilometer or two back, and now you just rescued some person and you have to go along with them. It's like, you may want to recall the ship.
Yeah, you know, thinking about it from a Squadron 42 aspect makes a lot more sense to me than from a PU aspect.
Because again, the Squadron 42 is still a story-driven campaign, and going to have some linear aspects to it versus the PU.
Well, especially too, like for example, from the Slice of Life video that we got, I won't mention too much stuff just in case it ends up being spoilers, even though it's been out there for
That's why I didn't like mention details.
years, shit. But when you run through that whole base area, and you've now pretty much woken up the beehive with what you've done, and then you've now got someone else in tow, you can't exactly go and crawl back to your single seater. The other person's ship is gone. What do? Now, maybe it's that you go and you steal a ship or something like that, but I don't know. But being able to call another ship over to you for pickup would definitely be nice. But just one thing in general that Star Citizen really needs to look at, especially as the game further develops, is right now in terms of time spent, it's absolutely atrocious. Because you can spend an hour or two gearing up for something, and then within a minute, because of a glitch, because of someone ganking you, because of whatever, the server decides to go and shit itself. Hey, that hour or two of setup you've just lost. And it's been like that since the beginning. Like they really
even more
need to
so
go
since last year when they implemented the.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just like for example, an armory. Like I know some people go and they'll stock up an armory, but it's like, what's the point in doing it when you're always losing your ship? Whether it's because the game decided, 30K, or because the game decided, well, you might have gone embed logged, but I'm actually going to go and put you back in the city, and your ship is just wherever the fuck we decided it was. So you lost everything.
Which is why I specified earlier with the whole right now ships are disposable because of that, but at the end of the day, that's not how it's supposed to be. You want so having stuff on your ship seems risky now, but at the end of the day, when Star Citizen eventually more complete state, that's how you're going to be using the game. Like you're going to have your stuff on your ship. You're going to put stuff out on the ship, various storage and stuff.
I'm worried on if we're ever really going to get to that point. I mean, I think we will, but just it comes back to that problem of CIG treating it as both a game that you're playing right now and an alpha. And it's like, look, if it's an alpha, fine, treat it as an alpha. If it's a playable game, fine, treat it as a playable game. Give us a bit more quality of life stuff here.
I think they should treat it as an alpha, not try to do this live service route, because
I mean that's absolutely fine. Just in that case, they need to stop. Whoever the fucking marketing thought it was a great idea to go and be like, hey, when a new patch comes out, we're gonna go and make a video showcasing it and all these features that aren't even real and stuff. No, right the fuck off with that bullshit. If it's an alpha, treat it as an alpha. And now, they're definitely leaning way further into it's a game, but we're still going to treat it like an alpha. But we're going to act like it's a game.
A lot of the devs seem to treat it like an alpha, but that's because they're the devs.
But the marketing and everyone else treat it as, oh no, it's a game. And
we have it out for the marketing team, you know that. Not the marketing team, but the marketing in general.
They really need to cool it.
Yep. I mean, that's most of the problem with a lot of AAA games that do the live service shtick is here's this game, right? Oh, it's a game. We'll add more stuff to it over time, but what it really is essentially here's an alpha that's you're get more features to get the complete game at the end of the day. We may charge you every now and then.
Maybe you'll get a complete game by the time we abandon it.
like, yeah, there are similarities, but you want to differentiate yourself from that because of the stigma, the stigma around it. Like, don't go into that. And I think it is just mostly the marketing. I don't, because especially when you have like the Star Citizen Live, a lot of the time Jared's always constantly reminding people in the chat this is an alpha and everything like that, because, well, it is. But it's interesting because like he's essentially like in Star Citizen Live chats, he's really having to fix the mistakes of the marketing.
Yeah, they're trying to oversell, and he's trying to
And he's trying to
bring it
set a
back
realistic
down. Like, yeah,
expectation. Like, hey, this is an alpha. Expect all the nonsense from alphas. Bugginess, glitchiness, meant for testing, so things are going to change and are implemented just for the sake of testing, and then they'll be swapped out or replaced or improved upon or whatever it is. And dual execution, 0G player movement, and background animation worked on, and mocap was shot for gameplay and Squadron 42.
Admittedly, though, on the note of 0G, I cannot wait for those new 0G traversal
Agreed.
animations. Those looked fantastic. Now, we are not getting those at 318, correct?
No, I don't
At
think
least
so.
at least that they've said, to my knowledge.
I'm double checking, but I don't think so.
If it was, it'd probably be on it'd probably be on one of the cards on the roadmap.
That's what I'm checking right now. No, just cargo system refactor, sandbox, prison activities, security plus reactivation, sorry, new missions on Orison, time trial races, mission salvage. No game. And there's nothing on. Squadron 42 also has some AI stuff for like crowds and making the AI feel more lively, like just doing various things in the background. Box carrying, interaction with living spaces and bridges, welding engineer, AI, stuff like that.
Standing on chairs.
Not standing on chairs, sitting on chairs.
Sitting on the floor.
Sitting inside other AI.
Walking into walls.
Blocking doorways.
Walking through walls.
Vibrating out of existence.
Speaking of AI, I was doing some formation flying yesterday with the XGR guys, and at the end, we noticed that there was some AI that somehow got outside the space station. So I pulled out my cutter and was able to collect them in the cargo bay.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. People just will either drag the AIs out or something.
Now, they didn't get dragged out. It looks like they spawned out there somehow. They were just standing out in the middle of space around the station.
Well, like sometimes in the 890 jump mission,
yep,
you'll have a pirate NPC that'll go and end up spawning like under the ship or over the ship, and they'll just be chilling there in space, and you'll have to go and find them and pop them.
On the outside?
Yep.
Yeah. You have to EVA out and be like, oh, there you are. Blah, blah, blah. They don't even try. I don't think they can even move in 0G right now.
No, so. they have the normal standing and gravity enemy.
That will be interesting to the point where you actually have NPCs able to traverse. Like, I know they showed off. This was like, 2 years ago, but they showed NPCs actually like going from like EVing out of a ship, traversing a 0G environment, and then getting into another ship. It was all very rough. So it was showing like the animation paths and stuff that they were making. Like, it wasn't like here's the here's the finished product, but here's the underlying logic we're kind of building out here. But like, that'd be pretty cool to the point where let's say, for example, you're sitting there in a constellation and some pirate comes over and starts, comes on your comms and starts threatening you and blah, 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 blah. All the while, his two buddies are EVAing over to try to get into your hatches or something and board the ship. But, yeah.
Also, AI for Squadron 42, they got turret usability and animation improvement, and panic, cower, and surrender behaviors, and hide and search for ammo behaviors. Medic behaviors have progressed with integration of other actions. New non-human character has begun work, and dual investigation improvements, and new functionalities were added to accuracy calculation. AI tech team worked on complex navigation links. NPC ground vehicle operation was completed. Light and dark levels were added to perception. More engine sounds were added as stimuli for the AI. AI perception through glass was fixed, and following the corner turning improved, along with new functionality added to Apollo's subscription tool. AI vehicles, NPC ships attacking ground targets was completed, and redesign on core combat.
As opposed to the non-core combat logic.
Right. That's pretty neat for Squadron.
Yeah, I just want to see more of that stuff start filtering through into
PTU, don't we all?
PTU. And I mean, I know it sometimes does, but just like just AI, combat AI, for so long has felt pretty much exactly the same as it's always been for what, 3 years, pretty much. It's like I know eventually it's going to get better, but as it is right now, it doesn't feel like it. So hopefully we're at a turning point soon with that shit. But, yeah, we'll see. What do you guys think?
We also had the mission feature Star Citizen Live, where they talked about the mission feature team is not only about making the missions, but the back-end tech that allows others to develop. They supported the time trial races and the Orson mission Alpha 380, optimized some of the kiosks in prison to player experience. Coming soon, TM.
Well, and they also talked about too. I remember seeing. I only went and saw a couple snippets from the last video, and last week. And if I remember right, one of the things they had talked about was finally, or I should say, working on, not implementing, but working on a system to allow the player to defend their ship from people who are going in essentially trying to board it. Which was very nice because they're like, we know people have been unable to defend themselves, otherwise they get a crime stat. I'm glad that at the very least they finally talked about that, because it's been such an issue for so long that and pretty much all the Genkos will just tell you, well, you should either be smart and fight them off in fisticuffs, or just settle for us taking your ship. I was like, no, fuck you, or be like, oh, well, you just need to go back and despawn your ship and then respawn it, and then just ignore that the person's there and let us gank you. Because, of course, it's not going to change hangars. It stays in the same hangar. But, yeah.
They also talked about the new future goals are to polish investigation salvage missions, buy rights to mine in air.
Yeah, those missions sounded really cool. The whole idea of buying rights for mining or salvage, I really like that aspect, where, and it's going to be a bit of a grab bag, to where maybe that wreckage or that mining spot, maybe it's just going to be copper and gold and not much useful or valuable stuff. Maybe you're going to end up finding a wreck that has a ton of unsalvaged stuff and a couple good weapons and full components on there and stuff you can really sell for a lot.
Well, the thing that I really liked about it was that they're open contracts. So it's being offered to
Yes.
anybody who's interested, and it's first come, first serve, or whoever
I
can
I
find
think
it.
that wasn't for everything though. That was only for some of the ones. Like they were talking about ones to where like for at least I don't
Salvage
for,
and mining, I know they said were open contract.
for all of them.
But
I know
they're
they were
they're
talking about for like the criminal one and one of the legal ones. There were going to be open ones, but I think there were others where it was like it's not just a free for all. It's nope, you got your little spot and they pull out the salvage and here you go. Here's your pile of salvage. Get to it. It's not just that,
yeah,
oh yeah,
right.
we know some random, you know, if it's like, oh, well, we know a location of a battle, here you go, good luck. Sure, you know, that should be an open contract kind of thing. But if this is stuff that's been like brought back but unprocessed, that should be like, nope, it's kind of just you there. So I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll have to see. But
I think
I'd like to see both.
maybe they did say that there were going to be some personal missions where you're just you're
I thought it was both.
buying the information. Yeah, and then I know
Yeah.
they were talking about there were some that are going to be open contract.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So what I'm
Well,
reading
and I
here is,
liked
yeah,
too, they were saying for like that they're going to have criminal ones because like it's good that the criminal side of things is getting some attention there as opposed to kind of being forgotten. But at the same point, they were like, well, hey, for the legal ones, like, okay, hey, you've bought your little mining deposit and there's security ships in the area. That's not going to stop a sufficiently geared up pirate or someone from coming in and deciding they want to have some fun. And in that case, the guards hopefully will hold off the bad guys long enough for all the prospectors or the salvagers to go, we're getting out of here. But on the flip side, you also have for the illegal ones, hey, look, you only have a certain amount of time before security is going to show up, and look, at that point, you're on your fucking own. You know,
Yeah,
it's
grab
not
what you
like
can
that.
and then get out of there, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I just like they're kind of looking at both sides of that to offer just more gameplay opportunities for everyone, regardless of playstyle. Good stuff. Anything else?
The latter half of the Star Citizen Live was featuring a long historical dive on a pair of developers flying D. Roberts. That's about it.
I think you had mentioned earlier that you had mentioned at least one like unknown vehicle that was going
There was like a
to the
bunch,
pipeline.
yeah.
I think they had mentioned in the report there was like at least a couple
There were a couple of
unreleased,
unknowns.
unannounced ships, and I think with like one ground vehicle maybe.
There was I think there was an all-new vehicle, there was a ground vehicle unannounced, and there was an unannounced ship and a unannounced small ship.
Okay. I'll do like seeing, and I hope we get more utility ships. But and this is just of all sizes, just because like not everything is supposed to be, or at least to my mind, not everything should be a combat oriented or combat focused ship. You know, being able to defend yourself, absolutely, but you know, for the average person, and even if you're like, oh well, people generally don't own ships. Like when you look at the vast majority of ships, they're really expensive. Most citizens don't own one. Companies own them. Cool, well, great. But even in that case, if I'm a company and I'm putting ship holes out there, I want some guarantee these things are fucking coming back if these are so expensive that only companies and not individuals are having them. So they got to be defensible, right? Or at least in areas where security can go and defend them. So just, yeah, I don't know.
No, you're wrong.
But I just want to see a lot more of that fleshed out universe as opposed to everyone being just die kind of shit.
Yeah, because it's not all about combat. In fact, during the stream, I had 2 different guide requests that I was doing in the back end. And one of which was like, oh, I have no armor or weapons. And I'm like, then don't start off doing combat missions. Do a delivery or something,
Yeah.
just get that money, and then go buy some guns and armor you feel comfortable with, and then go out there.
I mean, heck, honestly, you could even if you didn't want to do delivery missions or they're glitching out, if you go and have I mean, even like the Aurora, the Mustang wouldn't. Well, no, actually, with the Mustang now,
Mustang, you can do it now. And he had a Mustang,
yeah, 'cause
so
you now have the cargo deck thing you can retract. Just go over to Outposts, loot the boxes there. Oh, I found a helmet. I can sell that. It's not much. You're gonna sell it for maybe 1,000
or
credits.
use it
at
if you're not
best.
gonna sell it. Like, because if you're
Well, yeah,
just
well,
starting
yeah. I
out,
mean, if it's good stuff, you can keep it. But it's like, there you go, and that right there is as near low risk as you can get. Like, sure, there's the chance that some ganker or some asshole is going to come across you and try to get you or something, but that's as close to low risk as you can get there.
Yeah, and well, it provides you with that initial investment. You need to take higher risks doing that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, right?
Yep.
it's also
And
good because it
hopefully
shows
give
you,
some
like,
gear.
hey, you can do stuff that's not combat and you can get some good profit from it, whether it be armor or tools, equipment, stuff like that, and also just shows you more game. And it's a less risk way of learning mechanics. I say that, but it's also Star Citizen in 30K.
Yeah. I want to see more of the quality of life stuff coming in though. So things like the improved map. Like, I know they said they're working on it, but just like, we've been stuck with the same map pretty much since 3.0. We've had this thing, and it's not aged well. It's clunky. It's not horrible, but it's very clunky. It's very unintuitive to use. It needs
Lots
help.
of room for improvement.
Oh yeah. I want to see things like the FPS scanning that they talked about that we originally, I think, like last year this time, it was slated for this year this time. Like being able to be like, hey, my buddy's down, but he's not in my party. I should be able to scan for that. Hey, I'm missing one guy on my bunker mission here. I should be able to scan for him. Now, of course, it should if I'm actively scanning or picking stuff out, it should reveal my position too. But if I'm playing hide and seek with someone, it should reveal my position just as much as it reveals theirs. But yeah, who knows? Ooh, what's this? Ooh, a mippity map design. Yeah. You're not wrong there, Mando. Which is honestly really fucking sad.
Indeed.
Don't forget the loot box with a payable bonus you can get on there if you buy the extra goodie box.
I'm putting it on this. What we're laughing at. Also, does that map remind you of ODST?
Which one? The first one or the second one?
The first one.
Kind of. You do end up backtracking a whole fucking lot.
I'm thinking of blanking on the map's name in ODST, but like the courtyard area. Kind of reminds
Vaguely.
me of that. Although obviously this is probably like a Quake map. Actually, I think it is a Doom map. Yeah, it's a Doom map.
What is it? Doom or Doom?
I love how also on the simple 2010 map it's just cutscene, cutscene, cutscene.
Absolutely not wrong.
No, it's sad. All right.
I can't wait to see how many cutscenes Starfield will have. Now with double the cutscenes. Woo!
16
pre-order
times
now
the
for the extra
cutscenes.
special pre-order bonus cutscene.
The cutscenes are 4 times bigger than Fallout 4. 16 times the cutscenes.
16 times the quality.
Anyone else? Anything else Star Citizen wise? Because I think I burned through all the stuff I had listed.
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't even been following stuff too closely lately.
No, honestly, I haven't had the chance. Most of the stuff I had was from notes from the Discord server, or I just literally burned through the Inside Star Citizens before we went live.
And part of the issue is too, like, I don't really want to play it all when like 318 is right around the corner. So there's no
Right,
point
because you don't want to
grinding
get, like, when you
anymore.
play, you get invested, but you don't want to get invested in stuff that you're just going to be losing in a matter of months, or a matter of weeks, if not a month. So,
No. You're probably right the first time.
months.
I mean, we're already in February now,
Yeah.
and 318 is still
It only just went to Wave 2, what, 2 weeks ago?
something like that. You know, and usually it goes to Wave 3 pretty quick, and it has not. So there's still issues.
Yep. One of the major issues I've heard was from people that have been playing that I talked to. They were saying that there are some server issues, and not like server stability and stuff like that, but just like server size and everything. Like just your typical servers are still overloaded issues. So I know, like, it's been an ongoing joke where, you know, in Star Citizen, oh, iCache will fix it. Oh, object container streaming will fix it. Oh, server meshing will fix it. Oh, this will fix it. That will fix everything, right? But in this particular instance, it does feel like server meshing really is the missing puzzle piece to the puzzle.
I mean, I know there's never going to be a so-called Jesus patch, at least not on the level like 3.0
No.
kind of thing, but I just really hope that stuff starts coalescing a lot better than it has been, because like right now it's still pretty painful for I mean even just doing the highly curated events like Xenothreat. You're still gonna go and have NPCs going and glitching around and moonwalking, and you're gonna shoot them and it turns out that you didn't because the server said, oh, he was over here.
That's assuming you can even get the mission to work and have it complete, because that was a major issue we had with the last season. At least the last one in the live. They had one
or
recently
that someone isn't
to the
waiting to go and hit the shuttle with a grenade launcher. Because apparently that's been a big thing now, is people will go and sit outside of the shuttle area and shoot into it with a grenade launcher or other stuff like that, specifically to go and just be able to gank people, because you're in an armistice until you leave the shuttle. And if they were to remove it in the shuttle, they just sit in the shuttle and mow people down. So it's like it's a lose-lose no matter which way you look at it.
I personally have not run into anybody griefing the starting position.
I have
in
not
Siege.
either, I should know. I have heard others tell really bad tales of it. Because, I mean, honestly, you hit that once and that just kills all your motivation. Why am I even going to, like, one, I have to change servers, but at this point, like, fuck, I was getting all ready for this event and, well, fuck it. I'm done.
Like, now you lost all your gear, and like literally all that time you spent gearing up and getting ready for the mission has now just been annihilated by a player with.
And you forgot to go and register in the hospital? Well, let's take you all the way back across the center. Like, you're just like, nah, I'm done. I'm done for the day. It just, kills your motivation. But, yeah, we'll see. I just hope those improvements start coming, just because it seems like all too often with Star Citizen development, we kind of go one step forward, 2 steps back of, hey, here's the punishing aspect. We'll add the quality of life aspect that goes and makes that a lot easier to be palatable later. And we're still waiting. But, yeah. And I don't mean to sound like I'm always ragging on it, just because it's the game that we have all wanted and all imagined could be but would never happen. except it looks like they're actually trying. We want it to succeed, but there's a lot of pitfalls that we don't want to just glaze over and just say, oh, good enough, and just leave issues hanging when they could be addressed.
It's a very complex game with a lot of moving parts, and they all need to work together and work well in order to work in general, and that's not what we have right now.
Nope.
We don't even have all the parts in, let alone working. Yeah, that's where Star Citizen is. Alpha 3.18 still in the PTU, probably will be for another month.
Yep. I think I heard the Spirit is getting close to.
Yeah. Spirit, specifically
what
the
was
A1
that?
moved into gray box, I believe.
Okay.
We were talking about that earlier in the. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They did have the Red Festival thing with the letters that you collect. I don't know if they boosted them to 1,000 or not. They didn't do that with the Lunalia gifts, so I don't imagine.
Did everybody get their wooden cock?
Come again from Big Fudge?
Oh no, I did not.
The wooden rooster was the.
Is that ended or is that still up?
It's.
I'm not sure.
I think it's still going. Let me double check.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll check the website.
Just the.
I've
Those
got a check
memes,
just
man.
running on my computer.
I don't know.
So.
CIG walked into that one.
Intentionally.
Oh, we forgot to do This Week in Star Citizen. Monday is This Week in Star Citizen. Tuesday is going to be the February subscriber newsletter, comlink, and the updates. You probably get what's the February subscriber gear. Wednesday is going to be the roadmap update, roadmap roundup, and January 2023 Squadron 42 studio report. And then we have the Inside Star Citizen on Thursday, along with Paramore 2953. I'm blanking on which holiday Paramore is supposed to be. The Valentine's Day one.
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day.
Okay. In universe Valentine's Day for Star Citizen, and then Friday Star Citizen Live and the newsletter. There you have it.
So I'm not seeing a banner item anymore for the envelope thing. So I'm pretty sure that that whole thing is over. Yep, it says the lunar.
I don't
New
think
Year.
I had. What was the date? What was the last time you had to log in before? You just had to be in game in order to get it, right?
No, you had to go to the website and
That was a code.
go to the.
Oh,
the code
I
thing.
could have done it. To get it.
Yep, nope, I did not either.
I don't have my
Oh.
one
It
cock. I'm
probably ended
sorry.
at the beginning of February, would be my guess.
Yeah, probably.
I think it ended. I think February 2nd or something like Groundhog's Day. It's Groundhog. Right. Yeah. So
I
that's.
guess you'll have to wait till next year to get your mahogany chicken.
So I checked the actual link because if you scroll down on the page, it goes in it it has at the top okay, the event's over. But I checked the page and it was like, nope, that's it. It's not there. So okay.
Oh well.
No, whatever.
Next time. I've really been out of the loop with Star Citizen after New Year's.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else.
All right. Well, shall we call it then?
Oh, what?
I don't know. What do you want to call it?
Call it done. It's cooked. It's finished. It's over.
Verdammt verkackt, Father. Yep. Okay. So that's it for this week. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with more Star Citizen. Hopefully, there's more Star Citizen next. Aside from just the Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live to cover.
Maybe some wider PTU access, or maybe even live. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe. Or maybe it'll just still be in PTU Wave 2 and all we'll cover. We'll just probably focus on the Squadron 42 report since that's coming.
I will say it's much more stable than it was a few days ago.
I assume you've been testing the racing stuff specifically.
Mostly racing, yeah.
How
Haven't
is?
really done much with anything else.
Didn't they say
The tracks are
they're-
fun. The times are too easy at the moment, but the tracks are a lot of fun.
Didn't they say they're going to be doing some inverse time trials to where, like, so essentially you can go and set up the race in the PU and just go, like, and it's going to pop up a mission and stuff.
They talked about they would like to go that direction. Maybe that's in the plans, but it won't be. It won't be this PTU or PU cycle.
Okay.
They'll probably like Alpha 318.1 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. They talked about it in SCL, I think.
Yeah,
The mission guys were talking about they would like to be able to have multi-lap races and maybe even races where, you know, there's just a broadcast. There's going to be a race here at this time, and you get people show up for it, that kind of thing.
that'll be cool when they get that implemented.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's gonna be it for that now. I guess Monday. That time, same
Orioles.
bet channel. Hope you guys enjoyed.